What's up, everyone? My name is College Sports Revived, and I welcome you back to the College Hoops 2K Legacy Mode series featuring the legendary and now national champion Coach Carter. Last time you saw this team, they were playing for it all here in Season 5. With the rebuild ahead of schedule, Fordham made their first Final Four of the Coach Carter era, and thanks to a magical game-winning shot by Kai Hendry, the first ever 4-star recruit in this series, we were able to knock off Arizona in the semi-final game. Things looked bleak at times, with Fordham going down multiple baskets with just a minute to go, but they somehow pulled off another miracle. And it all culminated in a wire-to-wire national championship game. Fordham was in control the entire time, largely due in part to the Final Four's most outstanding player, sophomore center Lloyd Hicks, dropping 28 and 10 in the big game. Stanford was already an undersized team, but they were missing their tallest player. And we got their best player in foul trouble early as well, so it was just a mismatch from the get-go. And we took advantage, joining 1997 Arizona and 2023 UConn as the only 4 seeds to win the national championship. But with the fickle nature of college sports, the title celebration can't last forever, and thus, today, we're going to go through Season 5's off-season to see if we can reload and set us up for a title-defending season in Year 6. We'll start off with the NCAA Awards. Ali Awumi of Florida State wins Player of the Year, 24 points for him. Butler's big man Solomon Coswell, mid-major Player of the Year. Coach of the Year goes to Stanford's coach? Are we serious? We're an A-10 school that just beat them in the national championship. I know they had injuries and making the title game was impressive on its own with all the noise they dealt with, but come on, Ken Carter was robbed here. Anyways, Louisville wing Rob Sykes wins DPOY. Awumi's back for Big Man of the Year. Cliff Henson of Duke wins Freshman of the Year over his teammate Corey Kanji, who was the #1 freshman in the class. First team All-American is as follows: Brandon Edwin of Baylor with over 20 a night, Miles Bishop of Georgia Tech, that's who Stanford beat to make the title game, Nick Holden of Tennessee, Brett Goodridge of Florida, and of course, Ali Awumi rounds out the list. The first team list, 5 seniors here. Nathaniel Neighbors makes second team, ending his career with a title game appearance. Then the Atlantic 10's very own Deontay Culver, he graduates. We'll see how St. Louis retools this season. Antonio Lawrence of Tulsa, Shane Devine of Providence, we played him last season, and Zach Blair of Kansas round out second team All-American. Freshman All-American is led by the Duke backcourt, so don't be surprised to see the Dukies back in the top 10 next year after a down season. Will Latimer of Charlotte, another A-10 player getting some national shine. Eric Hovland of Penn State, and Arturas Atkinson of Air Force. Regular season A-10 champs was St. Louis, but postseason champs belong to Fordham. It remains to be seen how we replace our 3 seniors, including team captain Dustin Black. And at least Coach Carter wasn't completely gypped out of some hardware. He'll take home Conference Coach of the Year for the second time of his Fordham tenure. Culver takes home the A-10's Player of the Year, and Will Latimer is back for Freshman of the Year. First team All-A-10 is Tony Blythe of Dayton, Deontay Culver again, Jarius Jointer of Richmond, and the front court duo of Steph Baptiste and Terea Snell on George Washington. They both have graduated. With all this turnover around the conference, you gotta think it's wide open in the A-10 for Fordham in Year 6. And second team All-Conference has Eric Sullivan. He's a guy who always seems to put up 20 against us, so I'm not mad to see him go. Carl Reeves of St. Joe is an electric scorer who got drafted in the NBA. Josh Puente, who's another big loss for the Billikens of St. Louis. Andre Evtimov of Richmond, and 7'3" big man Grant Puckett of LaSalle. And unfortunately, the reason why you aren't seeing any Fordham Rams on these lists isn't because the voters hate us, but because our stats got super glitched this season. Look, I love this game to death, but it's extremely buggy once you get deep into legacy mode, and everyone's numbers look like this, unfortunately. Just random teams, random stats, and it's sad because I like following the totals and the career tallies for our players, but I just hope it fixes itself next season. Lots of turnover for the A-10, but here's some of the up-and-coming players of freshman all-conference. Musa Colbert of Temple, Trey Lorland of GWU, Will Latimer of Charlotte, Dean Pinnock of Temple, and Will Tamayo of Duquesne make up that freshman list. And now it's time for the saddest part of every offseason, saying goodbye to our seniors, including one of the most impactful players of this dynasty mode. Our first ever signing, a former 3-star point guard out of Scranton, Pennsylvania, Dustin Black. About as serviceable as it gets, always led by example, always a spark plug, whether starting or coming off the bench. He's a guy where stats just don't tell the full story, and it remains to be seen just how much we feel his departure. Chen Lee also graduates. He was in the same recruiting class as Dustin, and despite struggling with some injuries throughout his career, he had some big-time moments and was a three-point play machine. KJ Bigsby is the third senior. Had decent hopes for him, but just couldn't figure out where he was best utilized in our lineup, so he didn't see much time in his career. And around the conference, some of the most impactful players of this series find themselves moving on. GWU will be graduating, obviously, their dynamic duo of their big men inside and starting point guard Zach Yates. We'll see if the rivalry with them continues. St. Joe's loses 4 key players, including Kashin Badiane. He was a big target for Fordham back in our first ever recruiting video, but he chose St. Joe's and didn't play much until his senior year. St. Louis, they see 4 players enter their names in the NBA draft, including Culver and Puente, and they lose 6-man Quincy Abrams as well, and point guard Jess Delfico. Temple loses Eric Sullivan, one of the best scorers in the A-10 throughout the series. Charlotte sees their starting backcourt move on. Josh McPhee and Don Blaylock end their careers. Dayton may enter in rebuild next year. Tony Blythe, the all-conference point guard, he's their only returning starter, as you can see here. So a ton of players that have created rivalries with us over the course of Coach Carter's tenure here at Fordham, their careers end. Meanwhile, at Fordham, we return all 5 starters, so the expectations have never been higher for the Rams heading into Season 6, obviously. Was Fordham a one-hit wonder? Did everything just come together at the right time? Or will we find sustained success? It's time to get to work this offseason and find out for ourselves. Coach Carter earned 4 attribute upgrades thanks to his most successful season of his journey, and I used 2 on teaching to bring that up to an A grade, and discipline also sees a boost to a B. It's all about development for Coach Carter, and with possibly 2 5-stars coming to Fordham next season, trying to get the most out of them going forward is a top priority. Coach Carter also improves his overall to a B+, meaning we're starting to get our first major job offers of the legacy mode. Coach Carter getting these offers from Texas and Vanderbilt. Really tough to say no to these offers. The Texas coach retired, so we'd be walking into a top 25 situation in Austin, and Vanderbilt would be more your standard rebuild like we do on this channel, but with possibly our first 5-star coming to campus in the offseason and wanting to see guys like Hendry and Pat Park and Lloyd Hicks wrap up their careers, staying for at least another year I thought was the right move. But check this out, guess who took the Texas job? The same coach who's been on the heels of Coach Carter all series long, Coach A. Falls, who took over for UT Martin when Coach Carter left there for Fordham. Falls eventually then took the job at Pepperdine and helped them become a top mid-major team, and now he joins the Texas sidelines. That's super interesting as Coach Falls enjoys his own legacy mode success. And I actually scheduled Texas this season because of that, so it's going to be Coach Carter and A. Falls later on this season. And I thought about upgrading our assistant coaches, but then, I thought better of it. I mean, we just won it all with these guys last season, so why would I get rid of these guys, right? No transfers incoming for Fordham this season, but Nick Gilo, the former Oregon State transfer, he does return for his senior year, which is music to Coach Carter's ears. He played lights out during the tournament. The highest transfer in the NCAA was a 79 overall sophomore, but in the top couple of players, we do see a Temple player leave. Big man Gabriel Queen will join Binghamton next season, so another player lost around the conference. And now it's the moment we've all waited for. Year 5's recruiting races. Fordham surprisingly does not have any commitments at this time, but these races do look very promising to secure our first 5-star player of the legacy mode. Melvin Brewer will start off with a point guard here. He was once a 4-star prospect, but played himself into the upper echelon of recruits thanks to a very productive senior year. And I think his NBA comparison is De'Aaron Fox, an electric blend of size and speed you don't really see every day. And he has a complete offensive game. We've been battling multiple top teams for the 25th overall recruit, but now it's just a 2-team race between us and Seton Hall. And shockingly, the Pirates have not offered Brewer. We followed him for a few years, and it'd be great to see all the hard work pay off, but Brewer's been slow playing his process over the years, so anything can happen. Lucian Jedic is a 5-star JUCO from Lakeland, Florida. We were late to the party for his services during the season, but we actually rose all the way to number 1 in the recruiting race, which got me super excited. He looks like a future 20-point-per-game scorer. He's got elite shooting ratings from all 3 levels and has elite athleticism and plus defense. I think his NBA comp is Pascal Siakam. That A potential rating has also stuck out all season long as well, but so has his number 2 priority of staying close to home, because despite Fordham getting the 100% first, Miami and UF have both jumped us, so it's clear he wants to stay down south, but we'll see if luck is on our side for this one. Our insurance policy for Jedic is a solid one. 4-star Tariq Porter. He's a top 100 prospect, another Philly boy just like Pat Park, and he's got a game that could fit us really well here. He's got that elite mid-range shot. He also uses his impressive vertical leap around the rim well with an elite layup rating, showing he's got the groundwork to become a very challenging player to defend. He's a little undersized. Porter's only 6'7", 216, and the A10's a physical conference, as you've seen firsthand, so it remains to be seen if he can compete in that environment. But I think Porter's a very high ceiling player, and we're one of 3 teams that are at 100% for him. But Coach Carter does lead the way over UConn and Morgan State. Very intrigued with Porter. Dwight Howard is another kid we followed for a while, but he's seen his ranking drop exponentially over the years. Formerly a 4-star when we first started following him, he's now a 3, and I'm assuming it's because he stands at only 6'6", 193 pounds at the power forward position. Because, that drop in rating can't be based off of numbers. He's had a very productive high school career. I don't know the ceiling of Howard. He does have a very modernized approach on offense, not afraid to create his own shot, good at avoiding shot blockers inside, but I just don't know if 6'6" and sub 200 pounds is enough to play in the A10. He's a local kid and we've been recruiting him for a while, but between the ranking drop and him not getting any taller, I just don't know if he's a fit here. But we do have time to figure it out. Fordham leads St. Peter's and Fairfield for Dwight Howard. The next recruit is 6'6" wing Kelvin Gates. No, not Kevin Gates, who is actually Mr. Basketball of the state of New Jersey in his senior year. A pretty impressive feat for only a 3-star. Kevin Gates is more of a catch and shoot player on offense, which may be really good for his game if he comes here. With guys like Damian, Kaya, and hopefully Melvin Brewer on the roster next year, we have guys who can get him the ball when he's open. He's also an above average athlete and uses those gifts to become an awesome rebounder, pulling down 8 boards a night, leading his high school team in that category. There are some concerns though. He was a horrific free throw shooter for his senior year. Really weird since he's got such a nice shot. And obviously, as you guys know, this Fordham team is nowhere close to where they need to be at the line. And with his potential only being a C, he might be at his peak before he even steps on the campus. Fordham outpaces Northeastern and Princeton for Kelvin Gates. The final target on our board is a mountain of a man, 7'1", 310 pounds of brute force. It's Edmund Alloway from the Motor City. Obviously, the physicals jump off the page at you, but with an A- potential rating, great free throw shooting, and elite paint defending, there's a lot of upside here. This was a race that was looking unlikely early in the season for us. Alloway was being pursued by some Big Ten schools, and there was mutual interest there, but those schools have dropped out, leading Fordham to have, their pick of the litter here, as they're just battling James Madison for Alloway. And of course, he's got the Dukes over us as I say that. But the more we unlock on Alloway, the more we like. And finally, the day of reckoning is here. Off-season recruiting has started. Will Coach Carter grab his first 5-star recruit of the Legacy mode? Let's find out. And immediately, we are met with big-time news. Lucian Jedic has made a decision, signing away from Fordham. Oh man, that's a real tough blow. He's going to enter his D1 college career as a sophomore, as one of the top JUCO transfers in the country, and he decides to stay in Florida and will be playing for Miami next year, starting at an 80 overall. Man, check out these skills. He is the perfect modern-day power forward. Excellent scorer, can hit the 3-ball, great free throw shooter, decent athlete, can defend multiple positions. He's a little injury prone with 79 durability, but if he stays healthy, he's going to have a great career at the U. Ty Crane makes his decision as well. I forgot I created the rival from the movie in this game. It's because, it's been so long, but yeah, Ty Crane heads to the nation's capital to play for Georgetown. Never really went after him because I'm sure having him and Junior Petal on the same team would not have been a great mix for the locker room, but I did schedule Georgetown in the non-con this season, so stay tuned for that matchup as we reveal our loaded schedule later on in the episode. But hey, Miami might have Jedic, but we got Tariq Porter, baby. There's one signing here in Season 5, hopefully the first of 3. It took us till April, but we finally got one done. And I think Porter's going to be a mainstay in this bench unit to begin his career. He's got the elite mid-range game, albeit it doesn't translate into free throw shooting, of course, as he only has a 65 free throw rating. So we have yet another reliability at the line, but he's a solid and balanced rebounder on both sides as well. And he got into the weight room this offseason, entering his freshman year at 227. That's definitely a lot more workable for the A10. I don't think he'll ever be the face of the team, but there's definitely a place for him on the roster, especially with Bennett Pincala entering his senior year next year. And that's all the commitments for now. Brewer continues to slow play the process while the other targets that are 100% interest. So we can take that scholarship off of Jedic, obviously, and use it on one of these 3 options. I eventually narrowed it down to 2 guys. I was between either Dwight Howard or Edmund Alloway. Obviously, Howard has the multi-year relationship with us. He's a hometown kid, and has the offensive upside, but Alloway, he possesses the size you can't teach. He's got the A- potential, the elite rebounding, the paint protection, and with Lloyd Hicks and Junior Battle both becoming upperclassmen in season 6, I thought the choice was obvious. Coach Carter hands the final scholarship to Alloway. He just oozes potential, and the last time we snagged a 3-star 7-footer, it was Lloyd Hicks. So obviously Coach Carter will aim to repeat that success, but somehow that still doesn't bump us above JMU. Good Lord, you just can't win sometimes, man. But anyways, we're going to move on to the next week of the offseason, simming ahead a couple days where, let's see here. Edmund Holloway does commit to the Fordham Rams. Okay, had me a little worried there for a second, but he was just pulling a little delayed April Fool's joke on us there. Holloway grows yet another inch heading into his freshman season, 7'2", 322 pounds roaming the middle. That's going to be a tough thing for opponents to be game playing against. His potential isn't as high as we thought, but B- is still plenty good enough to become a quality starter down the road. The inside ratings are solid, but do need to improve on the offensive end, but a 76 free throw rating is about as good as you can ask for from a 7'2" skyscraper. Happy to see that. He will also begin his career with an 80 block, solid rebounding stats, a B+ strength, and a C- foul tendencies. So many times these huge centers can be a little prone to getting into foul trouble. We've seen even from Lloyd Hicks, despite how good he is, but Holloway seems to know how to defend without fouling. Combine that with his 80 block, and he's got the tools to be a rim guardian over time. He'll come in at a 70 overall. And we've got a jack of all trades we've got a skyscraper big fella, but how about the crown jewel of the class? Melvin Brewer has signed with Fordham. The hometown kid stays in the big city, and Coach Carter has his first 5-star of his legacy mode. Took us 11 seasons to pull us off, dating back to UT Martin, but Melvin Brewer seems like he was worth the wait. 77 overall day 1. The shooting ratings don't jump off the page, but they're all in good spots. And he's even better off the dribble. He's an elite free throw shooter, so hopefully we have our guy that can ice those games for us down the stretch. And how about a 6'5" point guard with 92 speed? That with his 86 on-ball defense, Brewer really has everything you want, and he makes our team very dynamic. If you want to go with a taller, more defensive lineup, we can play him with Damian. If you want more scoring, we can play him with Kaya. If we want to get crazy, we can even play him at the 3 with Kaya and Damian and just run teams out of the gym. We can do so many things with him, and so many different combinations present themselves to us as he enters this roster. Moving ahead in the offseason, you may think that Coach Carter is ready to pack it in and head off to the next season at this point. Well, that's just not quite the case. I don't remember if I've ever done it in this series, but I've read online if you have a player at 100% without a scholarship available, they can sometimes walk onto your team, and I really want Howard and maybe Gates to join this squad, so Coach Carter will see if he can make it happen. No one's offered Howard yet, but UNC joins the Rams and Seton Hall to see who can get Howard to walk on first. Eventually, it'd just be a 2-team race between us and just the Pirates, and of course, this is exactly like the race for Melvin Brewer as well. And guess what? Seton Hall's trying to make a run at Calvin Gates as well. Might have to play the Pirates at some point and settle this on the court. So we reach the offseason, and we'll have next season to see if we can get anybody to walk on. And looking at our class ranking, we have the highest of the series. Coach Carter goes into season 6 with the 36th ranked recruiting class in the nation, a pretty awesome feat. But the A-10 is well represented here as a whole. St. Louis signed 2 5-stars for a top 10 class. George Washington ranks 14th with 1 5-star, who is a high school All-American. Richmond surprisingly clocks in at 16. No surprise to see our A-10 rivals reloading so quickly. Now it's time to reveal our season 6 schedule, and with this possibly being our last season at Fordham, I wanted to go out with a bang and test us at a conference. So we start our season with our preseason tournament hosted by UConn. It's 4 rounds, but we probably won't see any competition until the semifinals. Then UAB is our home opener. I just started a series on College Football 26 with the UAB Blazers, so I wanted to show them some love by putting them on the schedule. St. Francis for game 2 as Bennett Pincala plays his younger brother one last time. Then how about this? Coach Carter battles Coach Falls in Texas on the road as the Longhorns enter the year ranked 24th in the country. Carter versus Falls. I believe this is their 3rd meeting. Once was when Falls was at UT Martin, and the other was when he was at Pepperdine. Speaking at UT Martin, I got one last meeting against them on December 4th, then Villanova at home. Then we travel out west to meet Stanford once again in a title game rematch. That game was actually on the schedule. Had us playing Stanford. All I did was just move the date later on in the season. and a title game rematch. That's going to be crazy. Then tune-up games before we're getting Georgetown and Ty Crane at home. Then one final meeting with our rivals, the Hofstra Pride. We're tied 1-1 with Hofstra, so that meeting decides the lifetime series. Our conference slate is interesting. We get a really easy beginning with Richmond, the Bonnies, Xavier, LaSalle, Rhode Island. 3 of those games at home, so a lot of the weaker teams in the conference. But then a brutal stretch. We got St. Louis, George Washington, Temple, Dayton, and UMass. Then Rhode Island, LaSalle, GWU, and St. Joe's to wrap things up on senior day. So a favorable beginning to begin the A-10 slate, and then a rough stretch. We got to go on the road against all the better teams. So it's going to be crucial to get off to a good start this year and beat who we're supposed to. Next up is the APL and high school recruiting. Since this may be our last season, I don't think I'm going to do a high school prospects preview show like I've done in years past. At the end of the episode, I'm just going to go over my write-ups for my 9 targets this year, just in case the series does go longer than next season. So stay tuned for that if you want to see who we're going after. And to wrap up this episode, we're going to hop into the season preview show. I wanted to knock this out in this episode because I want to fit the entire preseason tournament in the next episode, which could be up to 4 games. So I don't want to waste any time in the next installment, and I want to make sure I get gameplay back to you guys as fast as possible.
Hi everyone, I'm Greg Gumbel at the anchor desk with my partner Clark Kellogg, bringing you the 2K Sports Season Preview Show. Here are the top 5 teams in the nation as we head into the season. The Cincinnati Bearcats come in as the number 1 ranked team, followed by Boston College, Duke, Michigan State, and Charlotte. What do you think of the top 5 teams going into the year, Clark?
These are some outstanding teams, Greg. Fun to watch. Not many weaknesses. They do so many things well on the basketball court. It's not surprising to see them in the top 5. Every time these teams take the floor, you're assured of seeing entertaining basketball.
The Cincinnati Bearcats are projected as the favorites here in the early going. Everybody in last year's starting lineup is back for another season. Charlotte is the number 5 team. They'll be trying to build on last season's regular season conference championship.
No matter how many different pieces they have this year as compared to last, they'll go into this season with the attitude of we're the champs, and if you want the crown, you've got to go through us.
Here's the next group of teams in our preseason top 25. What do you think of this group, Clark?
The upside of these teams far outweighs the downside. Expect at least half of these teams to finish the season in the top 10, and 1 or 2 of them have a chance to be right at the top.
The Fordham Rams, the number 6 team, have been talked about quite a bit as we head into the season. They're the defending champs, but they're going to have a tough road to hoe to hold on to their crown.
At least they're still there in the poll. That means a lot of the experts still think this team is going to be strong. I'd like to see what kind of start they get off to before I decide whether they have the ability to repeat.
How about this list?
I think there were a few teams that were slighted and should probably be in the top 25 ahead of some of these teams. But I'll hold my tongue and talk about the teams that do deserve to be here.
The Stanford Cardinal, the number 18 team, could be one to watch. They lost a big piece of their team with the departure of last season's leading rebounder.
It's going to have to be a group effort on the boards for a little while until some of the younger big men get the confidence to hold their own game in and game out.
As usual, we have a lot of new coaching hires to tell you about as we start the season. You now see all the coaches who will be heading to new programs. Some very substantial changes can be seen, that's for sure. The Texas coach is one of the hires that drew a lot of media attention. The Texas Longhorns have a lot of fans that are delighted to have a coach of his ability, Clark.
He proved himself at various levels of the sport, Greg, before getting this shot. I'm not sure that he's going to be an overnight success, but if this school shows some patience, I have no doubt he'll be successful.
There before you are the 5 first-team All-Americans as we begin the season, and what a list it is. As we move to the second-team All-Americans, we can see there's no shortage of talent with this group. They're all elite players with the potential to dominate the game. Our next player is a tremendous talent in his own right. St. Louis is in for a great year if he lives up to his potential.
Conran is in the spotlight for all the right reasons.
His impact on the game isn't limited to his defense and scoring. Perhaps his biggest role is that of dime dropper. He led his team in assists last season, and his ability to distribute makes him even more dangerous.
All right, Clark, thanks very much. Glad you could join us for the 2K Sports Season Preview. We hope you enjoy all the college hoops action ahead. So long, everyone.
So, the Fordham Rams at number 6 to begin the new season. And for the first time in the series, we're in the preseason top 25. Super grateful for that. But we did get every starter back from a championship team. So if you ask me, I feel like we should even be higher than that. But we'll take it, as we're joined by Charlotte at number 5 and UMass at 16 for the other 8-10 teams in the preseason 25. Stanford is at 18, Texas is at 24, and the Hoyas are at number 25. So those are 3 teams we'll be seeing in the non-con in Season 6. So here's our preseason tournament bracket. Is there something you're noticing here with this field? Yeah, me too. These teams are not the highest quality. I wish I knew that before scheduling it, but the good news is these are only the first 2 rounds of a 16-team tournament. Fordham could face the likes of South Carolina, George Washington, Pepperdine, Nebraska, or St. Joe's as we look at the other regions, so we just got to take care of the cupcakes first. And to finish the offseason video, we'll take a first look at our recruiting board. But first, we got to see what's on the way out, where we've been one of the youngest teams in the country over the past 2 seasons, which means we'll be one of the oldest teams for the next 2. Kaya, Bennett, Nick Jallo, Milos Filipovic, and Rondell Dunnington, they're all in their last season. 1 senior at each position, 5 scholarships to hand out, and joining them will be 6 juniors, including guys like Damian, Hicks, Pat Park, Timo Cruz, and Junior Battle. So the window to repeat is closing on us and fast. But our number 1 prospect is Deron Styles, great name for a basketball player. 6'7" forward from Detroit. And for the first time ever, Coach Carter's got a high school All-American on the board, continuing to make strides, as Coach Carter is. He likes what he sees from Styles, and while he opted out of ABL ball, we don't have stats, but he probably didn't need to play anyway. Styles is top tier offensively, and around the rim, he's awesome. He's got the speed, quickness, instincts. He's got everything to play out of the forward spot. He's also a high IQ player, just everything you could ask for out of a prospect. The first priority we found out is his quest for playing in a big program, which might take us out of the running long term, with 4 ACC teams leading the way, but Fordham's not far behind. But hey, if we can't get that All-American, how about this All-American? Mark Jefferson, a 5'11" point guard, a hometown kid. Jefferson had an awesome high school career, playing over 27 minutes a game as a senior and produced 12 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and over 2.5 steals, packing a huge punch despite being under 6 foot. Jefferson is a tough kid, he's a hard worker, he understands the game at a high level, and those intangibles make up for the lack of height. Matching that with these top tier grades, and he's a game-changing point guard. Especially with Damian and Kai both graduating in 2 years. He would be an awesome guy to fill in. His top want is to play close to NYC, which is about as good of a match as you can get. Coach Carter's in 9th place out of 14 teams, but it's neck and neck with Virginia Tech and Boston College at the top. With all the turnover on the horizon, we're going to need to replace a lot of scoring, and number 3 target, 5-star Ron Sheridan, is about as good of a scorer as they come. Over 15 points a game, making 23 3-pointers in an 8-game ABL season. These shooting grades are awesome. A- close, A-3, and that's all paired with A- speed, so he's got to be just a pest to try to cover away from the ball. He's not a selfish scorer either. With a B- pass, he threw nearly 3 assists a game, showing an ability to use the pressure he faces from defenders against them from time to time. Sheridan would be a perfect replacement for all the scoring that'll be leaving this roster, and his priorities seem to be a good fit as well, as getting playing time and good coaching lead the way. Sheridan's a player who I started recruiting last season as a junior, but unfortunately hasn't helped much as I hoped. With Providence emerging as a heavy favorite, Fordham is in 6th place for the Bronx Kid. In the number 4 spot out of Akron, Ohio, we have our first 4-star prospect, 6'5", 239-pound off guard Brennan Moy, but don't let the drop ball fool you. Moy is a gem and could easily be a 5-star. He's the first player with A potential in, this little recruiting board Coach Carter's put together. He posted 16.5 points as a senior with 8.5 rebounds on a nightly basis at only 6'5". Hey, look, I'm a Knicks fan, and if Coach Carter could get a score-first version of Josh Hart here, that would be an awesome pickup. While he's not a sniper like Ron Sheridan, Moy's got plenty of tools in the toolbox in his own way. He's a good shot maker off the dribble, can bully smaller defenders going through the lane using his huge frame. He's not a flashy player, but a very practical one. And if we can unlock him defensively with his special size at the 2 guard, there's no telling how good he can become. Out of 11 teams interested, Virginia and Georgetown outpaced the rest, with Fordham in 7th. At number 5, it's the Mr. Basketball of the state of Massachusetts, 6'1" guard Daryl Blancett. Blancett's caliber, to be honest, might be a little overrated. 10 points and 5.5 assists is promising, but he shot under 30% from the field. That doesn't bother me too much, however, because he does have the grades. He's an excellent free throw shooter, great passer, doesn't have elite straight line speed, but is quick as can be going east to west. I like his tools so much I'm willing to look past the inefficiency. His identity on offense, that can be coached and unlocked later on. We don't have many priorities unlocked, Actually, none unlocked at the moment, but the Rams are in the running with Fordham coming in at 6th. And it looks like the battles with Seton Hall will continue this year as the Pirates are in first place for Blancet. Our 6th spot on the board is 6'7", 4-star forward Logan Collins from Philly. The city of brotherly love continues to be a key pipeline for Coach Carter. Collins did not play ABL ball, and we still have a lot of grades to unlock, but at the moment, he looks like a perfect 3-and-D player to complement the pure scores that join Coach Carter's board at the moment. He's got the range, he's got the handle, he's got the size and some intensity to grow into an awesome glue player for any starting lineup. But he's not only a catch and shoot threat, he's got a solid handle for a 4-star forward. His top priority is staying close to home, and with Philadelphia natives Pat Park and Tarek Porter on the team, those guys can help Collins feel right at home if he comes here. And we'll actually be facing off with 2 of the 4 teams ahead of Fordham in this race, Georgetown and Villanova. We'll be playing them this season, so maybe a chance to win off the court a bit if we can beat them on it. Our 7th target is Julio Ball, a 6'7" junior college forward from Aurora, Illinois. Julio is a bit of an unknown at this point, but the biggest calling card is his ability to play bigger than his slim 199-pound frame. He has possibly the highest motor on this list, a true blue-collar big with excellent rebounding grades, excellent on the offensive glass. From all angles, you have a win-first player here in Julio. And I mean, your board can't be all, score-first players. You gotta have some guys that do the dirty work and can muck it up a bit, and it's the backbone of any great team. And to be fair, we haven't seen any tape on his offense yet, no grades unlocked on offense, so he could have all those positive traits with the ability to hold his own on, the offensive end, which would definitely bump him up our board. We still need to find out his priorities along with his, scoring ratings, and we have some work to do to get the full picture. Notre Dame has the early lead with the Rams in 3rd place here in the preseason. Recruit number 8 is Nigel Camper, a tall 6'4" point guard out of Dayton, another 4-star. He's down behind some other guys, not rated as high as him because he's a bit of a project. He shares some parallels to Daryl Blancet, who we saw earlier, a very toolsy player who had a down season though in terms of efficiency, but we really like the upside he presents. Camper's a pass-first point guard. The jumper needs time to come into his own, but he's a smooth playmaker. At 6'4", he can make some reads that point guards shorter than him just can't make. He's got a tight handle, and overall he can really spread the ball around to your main offensive players. He can also become a go-to point of attack defender in my eyes, which is something we don't currently possess on the roster. Obviously, Damian and Pat Park are our best perimeter defenders, but Camper on paper just seems like a guy that we can stick on the opponent's best player every game and trust to limit his output. No priorities discovered for the Columbus, Ohio product, as A10 foe Dayton is at the top of his list with Fordham in 10th. And our final target is 5'10" point guard Kalu Garza from Brooklyn. Garza is a kid who we recruited pretty heavily for a few years now, and as an underclassman, he was really the first 5-star who had any real interest in Fordham. But over the years, he never really blew away the scouts, statistically speaking. He had a good career, not an elite career, so it wasn't good enough to keep his 5-star caliber as a senior. Garza had NBA range when we saw him in person a couple recruiting videos ago. He was also super crafty with the ball in his hands, incredibly shifty, and overall, you could tell he was born to play the point guard position. He does have some flaws. At 5'10", you want him to be lightning quick at this level, but he is a below average athlete, so that's not a good mix. And on his jump shot, he doesn't get a lot of lift. He doesn't have a very high release, which may be a problem because he's already undersized. And that combined with his form, it raises questions if he can actually get a jumper off at this level. The Brooklyn native wants to stay close to home and wants to feel pursued, which should help us out a lot since we've been going after him for a few years. But Boston College, who's a top 3 team entering this season, leads everyone by a decent margin, including Fordham at number 6. Well guys, that concludes Year 5's off-season video. I'll leave you off with this season's projected rotation. Freshman Melvin Brewer and Tariq Porter look like they're going to be main contributors off the bench in their first season. And Edmund Holloway will battle with junior battle for backup minutes at the 5. Outside of that, we're going to be running it back, man. Everyone except Dustin Black is back, and we have another year under everyone's belt. So a lot bit more experienced, a little bit more time playing together, and this should be a well-oiled machine this season. Next time you see us, the title defense and possibly the final season of Fordham Rams basketball will get underway here with our preseason tournament. I'm sure you're tired of me yapping in your ears, so I'll wrap it up here. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for more Fordham and some more UAB Dynasty on College Football 26. Got a lot coming for you here on College Sports Revived. Take care, everyone. I hope you have a great day, and stay tuned.